Hey, everybody. What's going on? How are you? Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. Every night at 8:30, we gather here in the War Room to get together and decompress and hang out and tell stories and basically just figure out what the hell is going on in this world. I know, it's absolutely crazy. Can you guys hear me okay? I just realized that I had my AirPods in still, and I've had them in. It's like I wear them so much now, I didn't even realize. Cheers. Can you guys hear me? I'm assuming so, yes? What's up, Brian? Hey, Will. Hey, Steve. Hi, Scott. What's going on, Ben? Yeah, what day is it? I have no idea. Trisha says you can hear me loud and clear, so that's fantastic. We could have a crisis later if my AirPods die, but we'll deal with that later. Loud and clear, lady, says Ash. Fantastic. Hey, George. What's going on? So, is today Friday? Today I legitimately forgot what day it was like 6 different times. Like, I've gotten to that point now. I always thought it was ridiculous when, people that are retired didn't know what day it was. And I'd be like, how do you not know what day it is? I've become that person that legitimately doesn't know what the hell day it is half the time. Hey, John. What's up, Stony? Hi, Jamie. I realized today, you know who I saw today, guys? No kidding. And after he left, I totally realized that we should have taken a social distancing selfie. I saw Spaz today. So I had a bunch of stuff that was out in my yard that I wanted to get rid of. And I was like, oh, I could get, because I've been doing a lot of work in the garden and I'm doing repair work. And I had all this old wood and just all of this crap in the yard. And so I hit Spaz up and I was like, hey, I know you're working. Are you going to be in the area? Would you, if you're trying to keep your guys working, do you want to come out and take a bunch of stuff out of my yard? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So I saw Spaz and the Take Junk guys today. And I stayed at a appropriate social distance. Normally, you got to stay away from Spaz at least 6 feet radius anyway. But I got to at least, hang outside with him for a few minutes and talk to him and catch up with him a little bit. And it was awesome because he took a bunch of crap that I wanted to get out of my yard too. So he's doing good, told me to tell everybody hello. And I talked to him about going Instagram live with me. So we're going to do that soon. I was talking about it the other night that Mike Shue are going to go Instagram live soon. We don't know exactly when. I'll give you guys some notice. I know that anybody that watches this every night has heard me tell the story, but the way that this page on Facebook works, I can't bring up anybody live on it with me. And so the only way for me to do it is to do it on Instagram live. So Mike Shue and I are going to do Instagram live. Stiz said he would do it, and Spaz said that he would go on it with me. Somebody said, did he charge you? I insisted on paying Spaz and his crew because they are trying to work like everybody else. I'm pretty sure he cut me a deal, but I still wanted to make sure that I paid him. So yes, I paid Spaz. He did a good job. Bob says Spaz is a junk guy now. He has been for years. When he finished working for the Hillman Morning Show, he started his own company called Take Junk. And he's been doing that for years now, and his company's doing pretty well, and they're trying to keep working right now the best they can, and that's why I called him and was like, hey, will you come and take all this crap out of my yard? And he said, yeah. So he was here today, and then literally like 2 minutes after he left, I was like, shit, we should have taken a social distancing selfie in the yard, and I just totally forgot to do it. So if Spaz is watching, sorry, dude. I forgot to ask you to take a picture. I love that everybody's telling me what day it is now. Will wants to know if I've heard from LB. I haven't talked to LB since the last day that we were on the air. He called in. But I know that he's been on with Hillman on his new show on EEI once or twice. So I think he's doing okay. But I know that you know, I mean, he's been very open and honest about his health struggles. He was when he was still on the air at AAF, and, you know, talked about him when, you know, we were doing the last couple of shows. So, but Danielle also got a picture of the Wilster, who is just a giant now. It was so crazy to see how big Will is getting. So as far as I know, LB is doing okay, but I have not spoken to him directly. But I know that that he's talked to Hillman, and I know that that Danielle has talked to him as well. Somebody just commented on my, Carl just commented on my awesome Dawkins shirt. So this is my old school retro shirt for today. I dug this out. I cut the collar off of it years ago. I think at one point I dropped bleach on it. I had to ask some friends. I did another like Zoom meeting with a bunch of my old like high school friends today. And we had to figure out what show it was because it was Dawkins 1987, 88. And we figured it out that it was Dawkins opening up for Aerosmith at the DCU Center, or what was the Worcester Centrum, in December of 1987 when Aerosmith filmed the Angel video. Dawkins was the opening act those 3 nights. And I went the night that Aerosmith filmed the video. And this was the Dawkins shirt that I got. And I probably bought the Aerosmith shirt that I wore last night the same night. And the shirts probably cost $10 back then. Who the hell knows? But yeah, this is my Rockin' with Dawkins shirt. And it's all cut up and old and whatever, but it's so comfortable. Jeff says, Dawkins forgot about them. Eric says, back for the attack. Mary says, I was at that show. I have such fond memories of all of that music. I know in like the early to mid 90s, liking a lot of that 80s music was just not cool. And like there had to be like suffering and everybody had to be like introverted and depressed. But that 80s music, especially right now, when you're locked in the house and kind of feeling down in the dumps, that 80s music was just so fun. And the soundtrack of some awesome parties for me, that music just cheers me up, you know? And I've been listening to a lot of that stuff now that I've been locked in the house, just because there's so much like bad news and just so much going on right now that escape of listening to some of this, and not like the stuff that you listen to all the time, but like digging through my old music collection as I've been digging through these old t-shirts has been really fun while I've been locked in the house. So everybody's cheersing my Moscow Mule. So cheers to you guys. And if today is your birthday, I know that, you know, you were probably so excited that your birthday fell on a Friday night, and you probably made all these plans about how you were going to go to a bar and you were going to go and hang out with all of your friends. And now you're stuck at home on a Friday night by yourself on your birthday. And that's why you have all of us. So if it's your birthday today, cheers. If you're celebrating your birthday today, you are celebrating it also with Brian Setzer from the Brian Setzer Orchestra and the Stray Cats. You're celebrating it with Q-Tip, and you are celebrating it with a longtime friend of mine and WAF, Mike Mushak from Stained, is also celebrating his birthday today. So happy birthday, Mike. I don't know if you're watching, but if you are, happy birthday. And obviously, if today's your birthday, you share it with some pretty interesting people. So happy birthday. Teresa says she's having a Cosmo tonight. Let's see. Billy says, love that song, Into the Fire. Yes. There's some great old stuff. And if you are quarantined in the house with your teenagers, now is a perfect time where they can't get away from you to expose them to all this awesome music. So get going. Let the music education begin. They can't get away from you right now, especially if they can't drive. You've got a captive audience, so lock them in the house and make them listen to cool old music. So lots going on today. Governor Baker was very emotional and kind of got heated at a lot of the reporters' questions today, kind of asking about getting back to normal. Governor Baker was very adamant that Massachusetts is now getting into what is going to be the worst time for us. As New York has seen an increase in fatalities, unfortunately, but a decrease in hospitalizations and ICU patients. Massachusetts is like 2 weeks behind New York, so we're getting ready to get hit with the brunt of it. They're looking at knowing that the surge has really started when they see about 2,500 new cases a day, and we're getting close to that now. The DCU Center is now open as a field hospital with about 250 COVID beds in it. And tomorrow, the Boston Convention Center officially becomes Boston Hope Medical Center. And the Boston Convention Center in Southie is going to have 1,000 beds, a lot of which have been set aside for homeless patients, but they're also setting aside a lot of those beds for overflow of COVID patients as well. But they are going to start calling it Boston Hope Medical Center starting tomorrow when it opens. They're also looking at opening field hospitals, one down the Cape, one up in the Merrimack Valley, one at the Newton Pavilion, and also opening one out in the Springfield area as well if needed. Coming up tomorrow, Tom Brady, Ben Affleck, and Matt Damon and more are going to join in on a charity poker tournament that is going to be on Twitch tomorrow. So it just shows you how jonesing people are for sports content right now. They're like, wait, Tom Brady and Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, the most masshole-centric poker tournament ever? Yes, you'll watch people play poker right now on TV because there's nothing else to watch. And that's happening tomorrow on Twitch. They have come out with more news about the Soldiers Home in Holyoke, and the count is now 32 veterans have died of the coronavirus just at the Soldiers Home in Holyoke. And obviously they are doing an in-depth investigation according to the attorney's office. The governor also waived the MCAS requirements. He signed an emergency law into effect. I don't know exactly what that means, but I know that the MCAS requirements have been waived. So if you have someone that was either supposed to be taking the MCAS or preparing for them, you are going to want to Google that because he waived them today. Deanna says, I miss sports. Farm Aid is also happening tomorrow, which is going to be great. You'll be able to watch that. I did some research on like the birthdays, on who was celebrating birthdays today. You know what else happened on this date? In 2005, the final episode of The Osbournes on MTV aired. And on this date in 1970, Jim Morrison was dragged off stage by Ray Manzarek at the Old Boston Garden after Jim Morrison asked the crowd at the Garden if they wanted to see his genitals. So just a proud day in Boston concert history because that happened on this date in 1970. So, Now I know I've been passing off all of the suicide hotline information every night. I also wanted to pass off this phone number as well. I've talked about it a few times, that the incidents of domestic violence have skyrocketed because obviously you have no reason or way to get out of the house. And so there's a lot of violence happening in homes. It was one of the things that the governor was very adamant about getting this information out. So the organization is called Safelink, and they are prepared to be able to offer resources for anyone that is having a hard time in their home right now. If you're being abused, if you know someone that's being abused and they're not really sure what kind of resources are available to them, you can write this number down as well and just kind of keep it at the ready in case someone you know needs this information. The number for SafeLink is 877-785-2020. 877-785-2020. And, you just want to keep that number around, unfortunately, in case you know someone that needs it or in case you need it. If somebody's watching this right now and you're in a dangerous situation, do whatever you need to do to feel safe and to be safe, and know that you have an entire community of people that want to be there for you and are supporting you, and reach out to that number if you can. If it gets bad, there have been instances where people have called 911 to order a pizza, and the 911 operators know what that means. If you need help, there are people that are there. Our first responders, I know a lot of law enforcement officers have been saying they've been going to so many more domestic issues and incidents in people's houses because people are just locked in these houses. But you are not alone, and there are resources out there for you. And I'll give you all of that. I want to get that phone number for you again for the suicide crisis hotline as well. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 1-800-273-8255. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline, 800-273-8255. Or you can log on to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And obviously all of the online resources are there. There are crisis counselors, even though everybody is, kind of shut down or whatever, those numbers are operational and staffed 24 hours a day. So there are definitely resources there if you need it. Michael wants to know, when are you starting your own podcast? Michael, something like that is not as easy to start in the middle of a global pandemic as you would imagine. Just getting equipment and stuff like that has proven to be way more difficult, but there are a lot of things in the works. I talked about it a few times since we started making these videos, like almost a month ago now. Can you believe we've been doing this for almost a month? That's how fast time is going by. But I have looked into a bunch of different opportunities. I've had job interviews before, the COVID issue really took a foothold. And, now is just not the easiest time in the entertainment industry to be looking for a job. But I am working on a bunch of different things. And as soon as I have stuff to announce, I will announce it. There go people commenting blueberry cobbler. Like every night, the fact that you guys talk about the blueberry cobbler just makes me laugh. So hard to get live streaming stuff. I just got my stuff set up, says Dawn. There's a lot of things in the works. I mean, I have 22 years worth of audio to go through. Like there's just so much to do, and getting websites up and running and just all kinds of stuff. Trust me when I tell you I'm working on a lot of stuff, and you guys will be the first ones to know as soon as I get it done. Terrence says, your videos are making me happy. You guys make me happy too. It's nice to know that you guys are out there. Eric says, please mention blood donation. So I talk about it every night. They are still doing blood drives, but they're doing it in a controlled way, obviously with the social distancing restrictions. So you have to go on the Red Cross website. You have to find a donation place that is in your area, and then you need to make an appointment. You can't just show up and donate blood. I made an appointment like a week and a half ago, and my appointment is coming up next week. So you might have to wait a week or two. They are in desperate need for the blood, but obviously they have to make sure that they can take the blood donations in a safe way. They have to have all of the PPE for the people, the phlebotomists and everyone that are going to be taking your blood. They have to be prepared for the number of people, because they can't have a bunch of people sitting around hanging out together at a big, massive blood drive like what AAF used to do. It has to be by appointment only so that they can control the number of people going through, and they know how much equipment they're going to need and all of that. So go on the Red Cross website, look for places in your area, and even if it takes you 2 or 3 weeks to make an appointment, just make it. I'm going to be going next week, and I'll be asking a lot of questions from the Red Cross volunteers while I'm there to get you guys more information. Jason says, what's with the blueberry cobbler? Jason, you're going to have to go back maybe a week in these videos. I told a story about when I was in Afghanistan, and basically the gist of it, to loop everybody in on the private joke that didn't see that explanation. The Reader's Digest version of it was when I was on base in Afghanistan, there was a massage parlor, and the code word for the Orchids of Asia style massage was blueberry cobbler. and all of the troops that I was embedded with my producer Mike in Afghanistan, were begging me to go into the place and say blueberry cobbler because they were dying to know what would happen when a woman asked for a blueberry cobbler massage, but I didn't do it. And then the place got raided by the MPs. So there you go. So you can go back. All of these live videos, by the way, I post them up on the Facebook page. So if you ever are missing out on a phone number or a drink recipe or anything that we're talking about, you can go back and rewatch these videos, or you can just put it in the comments and somebody will be able to fill you in on what's going on. Mike and Becky said Jason is late to the party, blueberry cobbler. Elsa says, I drink blueberry iced coffee. Got one today at Dunkin'. It makes you laugh just thinking of blueberry cobbler. I gave you guys the disclaimer. I told you that from now on, whenever you hear anything about blueberry cobbler, that you were gonna giggle, and the people around you weren't gonna know why you were giggling. I've ruined it for you for life, so you're very welcome. Brian says, my favorite story was the other night with the F-15 Eagle story. One of the highlights of my life. Al says, I have an Orchids of Asia t-shirt. It says, everybody comes here. Of course you do. Lynn wants to know, is that a Moscow Mule? Yes, it is. It's my favorite. And I have not run out of limes or ginger beer. There's no way I'm going to run out of vodka, let's be honest. But I'm maintaining all of my ingredients okay. So far, so good. Stephanie says, I can't donate blood. I wish I could, but I'm severely anemic. You know what, Stephanie? Then you can find another way to help. Looking at an elderly neighbor, ask a healthcare worker in your neighborhood or in your family if you can make some meals for them. Every one of us has the ability to be helpful and to do something good for the people around us. And you just have to find your way. If you can't donate blood, if you can't, sew masks, there are other things that you can do to be helpful, and just do that. We talk every night about just trying to do all of our part. It's like, I forget who said it, but if everyone is responsible for one grain of sand and we put them all together, we get a beach out of that. So just figure out what your grain of sand is and do that. Maybe, if you're a teacher and a friend's kids are having trouble with some of their work, that you could help with that, or just whatever it is. Just find a way to be helpful. Find a way to be positive. Even if it's just reaching out to somebody. I had a conversation with an old friend of mine from college late last night. He called because he is compromised. He's severely asthmatic after having pneumonia about 10 years ago. He has lung damage, and he is quarantined in a family member's house because his wife works in healthcare, and he can't be home because she's coming home every day after working in a hospital, and he's so afraid to get this virus, and she still needs to go to work. And so he is locked in the basement of a family member, and he's really sad and depressed. And he's been down there almost a month, and he's trying to not get sick right now and trying to be supportive of his wife who works in a hospital. And he called last night just because, he was sad and wanted to talk to somebody. And I was like, yeah, it's midnight. Give me a call. Let's talk. So if you can just do that for somebody, then just do that. Dan wants to know if I talked to Corey Taylor lately. I have not. I heard that he's sequestered it in a studio working on some new stuff. And so I am hoping to talk to him soon. But I think he, like a lot of other musicians that are kind of forced to not be on the road or taking this time to be creative and just, they're like, okay, well, if we're not going to be on tour like we thought we were, then let's work on some new music. Now, I don't know if that would be new music with Slipknot. I don't know if it would be new music with Stone Sour. I don't know what kind of new music it is, but I know that that's why I've been having a hard time getting a hold of him, because I know that he's holed up working on some stuff. And so I'll let you know as soon as I get more information, obviously. Madeline said, yeah, same here. I'm scared to come home. If you're a healthcare worker, not only are you scared to get sick so that you can't go to work and help all of your patients, but then you're scared to death to bring it home and make your family sick, especially if you have someone. I talked to another friend whose child went through like a 2-year battle with cancer, and the child beat the cancer, but is still immunocompromised from the cancer fight, the chemo and the radiation, and the family is locked down, just trying to make sure that they can protect their son. And there are a lot of stories like that. I did not know that my college friend had pneumonia 10 years ago and that he's now asthmatic because of it. And I had no idea how scared he was of getting sick. So when he texted me and was like, hey, are you awake? Do you have time to talk? He told me that story, and I was like, God, I can't imagine, being even more afraid than the average healthy person to get sick, but knowing that it could really kill you. And especially having somebody that works in healthcare in your house where you know that they are getting exposed. And there's a term that they keep talking about on the news called viral load. And it's the reason why so many healthcare workers, like in Italy, are dying is because of the amount of the virus that they are exposed to on a constant basis. Like your viral load, if you're locked in the house most of the time and you go to Market Basket and maybe you touch the carriage handle or something else, and you go home and you wash your hands, you're exposed to a very small amount of viral load, as opposed to someone that's working in a hospital on a ward that is all COVID-19 patients. And so when you're exposed to a higher level of the virus, when and if you get sick, what they're seeing is these healthcare workers are getting sicker than maybe you or I would because they're exposed to a much higher viral load count. And so, not only are these healthcare workers putting themselves at risk, but, the amount of the virus they're getting exposed to means that they could get sicker. And they're figuring all of this out. The governor announced a lot of the totals today. 40% of the people that are testing positive in Massachusetts are young. And which is why they instituted the voluntary curfew from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m. to try and keep younger people from congregating, because younger people think they can't get sick, and they can. So, everybody, I think it's really starting to sink in. I don't know how it is where you are if you're not in Massachusetts right now, but I know a lot of people are. But if you're in other states where, it might not be as scary of a situation, or you might not have the numbers that are showing up in places like the Northeast, as the numbers start to creep higher, they're telling us to be more and more careful. And just like I was telling you when we started talking, they're expecting the next couple of weeks to be the worst for Massachusetts. So now is the time. Deanna says everyone can get it. Absolutely everyone can get it, obviously. But your chances when you're exposed to massive amounts of the virus or you're compromised in any way, it's even more scary. So everyone just needs to do... like Eric says, I have bronchitis, asthma, and mono, and I haven't left the house in 23 days. There you go. There's a perfect example. And I'm glad, Eric, that we can all be here for you. Steve-O says Los Angeles just extended the stay inside order until May 15th. Lori says, I'm immunosuppressed and it scares the fuck out of me, especially since my hubby is still working in the medical field. Exactly. People are loaning their RVs to healthcare workers so they can have a place to stay and not bring it into the home to the family. You know what? If you have an RV and you're not doing anything with it, that could be your grain of sand. That could be this little thing that you do that if you have a healthcare worker, even if the RV, if you get it hooked up to some water, just so that a healthcare worker can go and take a shower and get clean so they can go into their house. Because it's still a little bit cold to be taking an outdoor shower here in Massachusetts. Maybe down south, not so much. But, I didn't even think of that if you had an RV that you could loan it to somebody, put it up in their driveway or whatever. Like, that would be a fantastic way to help somebody out if they needed it. Laura says, I have COPD and I haven't left my house. It can be incredibly scary. And also, if you've got someone that's a first responder or a healthcare worker or someone that is still an essential worker, the other spouse is like, okay, I almost have to plan on you getting sick. And so someone needs to stay healthy to be able to take care of the kids. I saw an interview with Pink the other day, and she was talking about, her getting it and trying to keep her daughter from getting it because her son got it. And, the stories are gut-wrenching. Deborah says, I work with troubled teenage boys as an English teacher. So there you go. If it's something that you can help out online or whatever it is. Ken says that there are free rooms for healthcare workers at the Hilton. Again, people doing just the little things that make all the difference in the world. Audra says, I check on my elderly neighbors every day, so worried because he has cancer. You know what, Audra? That thing that might take you 5 minutes a day probably means the world to your elderly neighbors. And if you're willing to go to the store for them and leave groceries or supplies on their steps for them so that they don't have to go outside and they can just stay in the house, you are giving them peace of mind that they couldn't get in any other way. And that's what I'm talking about is like, the next couple of weeks are going to be really hard here. And so anything, and by here I mean in Massachusetts, I know there's people that are all over New England and all over the country that watch these videos with us every night. But I know that in the next 10 to 14 days, they're saying that Massachusetts, this is going to be the hardest time for us. And even though nationally they're saying that the numbers might not be as shocking as they thought they once were because people are being so good at following the stay-at-home orders and respecting the social distancing requirements, it still is going to be very emotional and it's going to be sad and scary. And that's why we need to band together and we need to stay positive and we need to go out of our way to be as helpful as we can in the smallest of ways. Like Joe, I'm a retired firefighter and now going back to support local fire departments to help relieve frontline workers. A lot of these field hospitals in Massachusetts, and I know is the same in New York State, are being staffed by retired healthcare workers, and they are answering the call to come back to work. And it's amazing. Everybody is doing their little bits, and it is inspiring. Mary says, I cook for my elderly neighbors. I make them dinner and leave it outside their door. If that's all you do is make a little bit extra of the meal you're making for your family and deliver it to your elderly neighbors, you might feel like that is not a huge contribution. But if you ask those elderly neighbors, it means everything to them. And that's what I'm talking about. And you know what? It makes me so happy that so many people are commenting on all of this stuff, that you guys are all answering the call in your own ways. Heinz says, did you see the guy that owns a gas station that gave nurses, doctors, EMTs, and firefighters free gas? It's just, these are all of the things. You guys are inspiring for being the derelict, Satan-worshiping rock and rollers that I know you guys all are. I also know that you guys are the most amazing, generous, selfless people on the planet. And you're all helping out in the ways that you can. And together, that's how we're going to get through this. I promise you, whether it's next month, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, we are all going to look back and look at how we all responded to this. And I hope that when we all look back, we're proud of how we all reacted. That's all that I can hope, is that, we all found ways to be supportive of other people and that we can all look back and go, you know what? That was a really overwhelming time. And I did what I could when I could. I gave what I could when I could. And we've talked about it a bunch of times. This time is going to end up being talked about in history. There are going to be new protocols. I know that you are going to change the way that you keep supplies in the house. You're probably going to wash your hands more. You're probably going to be more cognizant of things that you touch and how much you touch your face. And it's going to change how we all live our daily lives. Going back to normal is never going to happen because we've all been affected by this. And, you know, in 20, 30, 40 years from now, especially your kids, when they're all our age and they're like, like the way we talk about the blizzard of 78 and how we were locked in the houses, and my dad's Pontiac Le Mans with rear wheel drive got stuck on the corner in a snowdrift. Like the way that we all look back at those memories from our childhood, your kids are going to look back and go, I remember the global pandemic. I remember the coronavirus. And this is how my family responded, or this is what we did. And it's, Audra says people are going to be way more prepared. Deanna says, I will not be shaking hands. I won't be shaking so many hands after this. You're going to be way more cautious of who you're touching and how after this. Madeline says, when we go back to normal, it will. Eventually it will. And we're all going to be laughing about this eventually. And we're going to be like, remember all those nights we spent having cocktails in the war room and giving out phone numbers and asking people to donate blood? Like, I just hope that, you know, that we're all proud of how we respond. Mariah says, Dr. Fauci said we may never shake hands again. Maybe not, or maybe we'll just wash our hands more. Maybe you'll actually use those hand sanitizer stations in buildings that you walk by all the time. I mean, we used to have them at the radio station, up on the walls and whatever. And like, I mean, we would use them, but if I were in the radio station right now, I'd be using the shit out of them. William says, Carrie, big party when this is over. Well, the big gig is happening April 24th, 2021. So I know that party's happening, but I'm sure that we'll be having a party before then. Mary says 1978, then 9/11, and now the 2020 pandemic. I know. Bruce says, I gave blood today. See, there you go. You did your thing. And as we've learned from all of the blood drives we've done with the Red Cross, you can save 3 lives with a pint of blood. Just 1 pint, because they make different blood products out of it. And so you, Bruce, today, you saved 3 people's lives today. So if you feel like you didn't do anything, even if you never got out of your pajamas, you need to know that you made a huge difference in people's lives. You helped cancer patients today, accident victims. You could have helped someone going through surgery or whatever it is. You helped, and all you did was give blood. All you did. And you may think it's a little thing, but it's not a little thing. What's up, Mickey? Let's see. Eric says giving platelets this weekend. Yes, exactly. You guys are amazing. You're doing all of the stuff. I quote Mr. Rogers almost every night in these videos. Look for the helpers. Focus on the good people. Don't focus on all the negativity. Know that the negativity is out there. Educate yourself just so you can be cautious and take care of yourself. But focus on the good people. I grew up in a family with a nurse and a firefighter who was an EMT. And it makes me so proud to know that the healthcare workers are being noticed and recognized in a way. After 9/11, people looked at firefighters and police officers and first responders in a way and was like, oh my God. And now I feel like nurses and doctors and healthcare workers and all of the other people that are doing all of this amazing work right now, even people, like truck drivers and people that are stocking the shelves in the supermarkets, you're not going to walk by these people again and not understand that their work is meaningful and important. Like, we're all recognizing now everyone's role in our society and how important everyone is. I know that there are a lot of farmers that right now their crops are ripening and there's nobody to pick these crops. And, there's a lot of struggling farmers now that are trying their best to sustain their livelihood, and there just are not farm workers that can go out there and pick stuff right now. And, it's affecting everyone differently. And that's why, we need to do everything that we can. All right, so I got a drink recipe for you guys. Where is it? This is called the Coolcumber. It is 2 ounces of cucumber vodka with a chunk of cucumber, an ounce of grapefruit juice, juice of a lime, and a half an ounce of gome syrup. Blend the ingredients in an ice-filled container until frozen, and then pour into a large goblet and serve. I thought it was a really weird, strange drink recipe, but that's called a Coolcumber. So there you go. That's your drink recipe out of the new American Bartenders Handbook that I keep at the ready in case I have some weird, drink recipe or bottle of booze that I don't know what to do with. That book is awesome because you can reference it by liquor. You can look up drinks by name. So if you're like, oh, I found this bottle of, I don't even know what the hell it is, you can look it up and it'll give you all these recipes to be able to make drinks out of it, which is pretty cool. Al says 17 parts Jameson, 3 parts ice. Ooh, I got the hiccups. Hey guys, don't forget tomorrow's Wednesday's birthday. So get your pets ready because we're having a pet birthday party tomorrow. I am securing some birthday supplies the best I can. And so tomorrow night at 8:30, when we talk about everyone who's celebrating their birthdays, my 2-year-old pug will be celebrating with us. Just trying to figure out if she's going to let me put a birthday hat on her. I think the probability of that is slim to none or fuck no as the answer, but we're going to try anyway. So that reminds me, they are also still doing, all of the people that have been volunteering to give out supplies to veterans in the parking lot of Gillette Stadium. You guys are unbelievable. Just more people that have just been giving back. It's just amazing. All right. Everybody's asking about what is the artifact in the war room tonight. So again, I have to walk across the room to show you. When Isaiah and Josh and Mike Shue came in to record the Breaking the Ice podcast a few weeks ago, this is one of the things that they talked about. Hold on, let me push the missile launch button to turn the light on in here so that you can see it. So I have a friend named Jay whose dad owned a novelty shop. And when his dad passed away, they had all of this stuff in a storage container, like in a storage unit. And my friend Jay called me up and said, hey, do you want a tank for the war room? And whenever anyone calls you and says, do you want a tank? The proper answer to that question is yes. So Jay showed up with a freaking tank. Look at this thing. How awesome is this thing? I don't know why his dad had it. I don't know what the hell it's for. I don't know what you're supposed to do with it. But I have a freaking tank in my war room. Look at this thing. It's badass and it's huge. I have a tank. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with it. But I have it, and everybody that comes over, no matter how old they are, they gravitate to the tank, and then they want to roll it around and make tank noises, and they want to move the turret around. It's like that tank makes people that are grown adults act like 5-year-olds. But I just think it's cool. And it's very dusty, and I apologize if you're like, oh, her house is dusty. I have wood stoves, and everything in my friggin' house is dusty from the wood stoves. So that's the artifact in the war room tonight is my freaking tank. It doesn't fire anything. Like, it would kind of be cool if it, like, had, like a button and it fired BBs or something, but it doesn't. Oh, ice. Audra says, thank you for showing us. Get it. It is really cool. No, it is not Wednesday's birthday present or her new toy, but I don't know. It's just, if you're going to have a room and you call it the war room, people are going to see weird shit and they're going to give it to you. And I really like weird shit, obviously. And so I love having a tank. It's very cool. So everybody wants to know where Wednesday is. She's freaking sleeping as she always is at this hour. I'm going to have to like wake her up for her own birthday party tomorrow night, because by this time of the night, she's assed out. Like, she's been running around all day. I took her outside earlier today, and it was so freaking... Did it snow where you guys were today? Because it snowed here for like 15 minutes, and then it got super windy. My squash tower did not blow over, but the pea towers did. And I took her outside, and she got the crap scared out of her because she was running around the yard, and a branch got blown out of a tree and landed close to her, and it scared the crap out of her. So she did a lot of running around outside, so she's a little sleepy right now. So I want to see the baby tomorrow night. I promise I will keep her awake, and we can sing happy birthday to her tomorrow night. Ron says, yes, it snowed here. Madeline said, yes, cold and windy. Terrence said, no snow, but it did rain today. Melissa says, yes, a war room definitely needs a tank, right? I'm not crazy. If you're going to have a room called a war room, you got to have a friggin' tank. Wake up call at 10:15 p.m. Come on, I'm an animal lover. I want to see her. Bob says, no, it was just rainy and windy today. Bruce says, I used to live in Boston, and now I live in Georgia, and I'm so happy to hear you talk. Mary says, nope, 86 degrees in Hawaii. Right here. Aloha to you, Mary. Snowed twice, then hailed in Lunenburg, Joshua says. Stephanie says, yep, and then rain, and then some sun, and then some sleet. Yeah, we had all the seasons in Massachusetts today. It was very strange. You know, I'm just waiting for the locusts at this point. Eric says, no snow here in Fort Myers. Really? Killing me, Smalls. All right, well, it's Friday. It's Good Friday. This is a weekend, you know, that we usually spend a lot of time with family. I know it's Passover. My family's not very religious, but we always use Easter as a excuse to get together that weekend. And obviously, the family is not getting together this weekend. So, you know, you might have a lot of family traditions you're not going to be able to take part in. Some religious traditions that you have that you're not going to be able to take part in. And I know that, you know, that's going to have an effect on everybody. So do what you can to stay positive. Connect with your family this weekend, even if it's on FaceTime or Zoom, or, you know, you can do the video calls through Facebook, or however it is that you keep connected to everybody. Just really focus on staying positive this weekend. I know the weather's going to get better over the weekend here, so you'll be able to get outside a little bit. Bill says, saw a full rainbow, though, today. So that's what we got to focus on. Don't focus on the rain and the snow. Focus on the rainbow. Like, stay positive. You guys are doing great, and I know the next couple of weeks are going to be hard for us, but we're going to get through it together. We're just going to have to band together and help each other where we can. And Bill says, and eat chocolate. Exactly. Whatever you got to do. Whatever little... the other day I went to CVS because I had to pick up some stuff, and I bought a bag of my favorite candy bars, like, on the planet. I have a couple. One of my favorite candy bars is whatchamacallits, but they didn't have little ones, so I bought a bag of, like, the 100 grand bars, and I'm rationing them for myself, and every once in a while when I need a treat or whatever, I give myself a little 100 grand bar, and it's like, that was a really nice surprise. So do whatever you got to do to, you know, Betty says Oreos. There you go. Cassie says it's snowing right now. Great. That's what we need. Terrence says, I eat chocolate bunnies head first, a la Ozzy. You know what? If what it takes this weekend to put a smile on your face is putting a peep in a microwave, which, by the way, if you have not done that, I think it takes like 10 or 15 seconds, and the peep gets really, really big. It like expands, and then it like melts. Figure out how to turn that into a science project for your kids' homework, and then have at it. Enjoy. Love you too, Carol. Eric says, I work for CVS. Thanks for stopping by. Listen, CVS is like one-stop shop right now. You can get everything you need, and you even sell ginger beer now. Who knew? It's fantastic. So stay healthy this weekend, guys. Stay safe. I will see you guys tomorrow, 8:30. The birthday party is happening. I expect plenty of pictures. Matter of fact, don't forget to take your selfies tonight. Take a selfie with me in it, with you and your family, however it is that you're stay at home ordering or social distancing. Tweet it to me at Mistress Carrie on Twitter. Tag me on Instagram at Mistress Carrie WAF. And I will see you guys tomorrow night for the big birthday party tomorrow. Bye, guys. Stay safe. I love you.